Hey teachers, this is Paulina, and in this short video I'm going to show you how to teach English online using Zoom. So, the first thing we've got to do is to go to the website. In this case, I'm going to type in the address, which is zoom.us. And then I go to my account. For some reason, even though I choose English, it's still in Spanish. So please ignore the fact that it's in Spanish. And I go to Reuniones, which means meetings. I click on Reuniones, and you can see that I have two meetings planned. One is my Spanish classes, and the other one is how to teach English online. And this is the meeting I'm going to use today. Well, if it asks you whether we should open Zoom, then please say yes. Sometimes it might ask you to download a plugin. Please do so. You will only have to do it once. And in this particular class, I'm going to use audio, my computer's audio. You will see that I'm teaching myself. Hello, Paulina. This is me. Hello. I've silenced my myself, and by myself I mean the student, just so that I can avoid echo. But I think it's important for you to know that you can silence your students, or well, if you don't want to silence them, then they can have access to the microphone and you can hear them all the time throughout the lesson. Now, Zoom has many options. Let's say the basic one is this one. So being able to talk to somebody just like on Skype or any other video call apps. You can also chat. So at the very bottom of the window you have a toolbar, so you can chat. And on some computers it shows as a separate window here, separate section. On my computer with the system that I'm using, it's just a separate window. So for example, I can say, hello Paulina, and my student Paulina could answer how she's doing. Now I find it a little bit ridiculous to keep chatting to myself, so I will not do that. Ooh, the image is frozen. But I definitely use the chat box. So these are the very basic functions of Zoom. You could say, well, nothing different from Skype so far. Now, Zoom has this wonderful option of sharing your screen with your students. And by sharing the screen, you can do many things. So let's have a look at that. In my case, it says compartir pantalla, which basically means in Spanish to share the screen. So when you click on it, it gives you certain options. Let's start with the whiteboard. Now, I suggest that you always click on share the sound on your computer, especially if you want to play audio or play any videos. And with this option, I can write anything I want. So I can type in some questions. So for example, what did you do last weekend? Or how are you today? And then I can also allow my students to control my screen. So for example, I can allow Paulina to type something as well. Okay. So, hi, I'm fine. That's ready. And let's see if it's working. Well, for some reason when you're trying to do it on the phone, it does not. But when you do that on your on the computer, students can definitely do more things. Alright, so here I'm doing it on the phone as a student. So on the board you can choose stamps, so you can say, oh, this sentence is correct. Or imagine that your student says, for example, what did you do tomorrow? Tomorrow. And we would like to correct that. So we can say, oh, wait a second, there is a mistake here. This is wrong. How can we say that? What are you going to do tomorrow? So this is the board. You can also draw if you're good at it. Some of you might have touch screen, so it's definitely easier. And I will stop myself from having control over the board, and I'll show you a new function, a new thing that we can do with Zoom. So when you share the screen, you can also show students different things. For example, I would like you to imagine that you're my B1 plus students, and this is a warmer that I prepared this week. What is this? Can you type in the chat box your answers? What is this? So I can see that some of my students probably say, oh, this is an insect, or this is a beetle, or this is a bag. Now apparently there are differences between bags and insects. If your students know them, then you can of course ask them and elicit some more information. And after this introduction, I would invite my students to open their books, and I would use a digital platform that we are using this year, which in my case is it's Pearson Gold Experience books. Okay, so this is what I've got. We've just done a warmer, and I could ask my students if they know any unusual facts about insects. And again, they can type in their answers in the chat box, especially if you have many students, or you can ask your students to tell you, well, to say their answers. So this is pretty much up to you. And in the next activity, which is sentences with gaps, we've got some gapped sentences, and we need to complete them with these words. You can allow your students to do it. So for example, let's give Paulina the opportunity to complete the sentences with the words, and Paulina might know that, okay, she's choosing the word species, and she's going to put it in a sentence. And I can see, and as a teacher, I can check if this answer is correct or not. And I can say, yes, Paulina, you're right. So now I could give students 2 or 3 minutes to complete the task, and then I could either elicit their answers orally, or I could just display the answers, or I could give my students the opportunity to control my screen and choose their answers. I believe this is a great opportunity for students to participate in a lesson, and it gives everybody a chance to participate. So that's the great thing about the remote control of the screen. And now we're going to have a go at using audio. So we're going to skip 4 activities, and we're going to do one of the last activities from this lesson. Students have to listen to people talking on a nature program. What animals do they mention? Now, if you want to make sure students can hear the audio, you can ask them to type in the chat box at the very beginning, yes or no, if they can hear, just to make sure that everything's working well. So let's have a go. Let's listen.
1. Humans pay a lot of money for gold jewelry, but for some animals, a metallic look comes naturally. There are species of beetle, for example, that look as if they're covered in shiny gold. Avoid touching them if you want to take a photo, though. If they're disturbed, they turn a duller red-brown color.
Alright, so the first text was about a beetle. Yeah, that's why I use a picture in the warmer. But so hopefully students can hear that. If they cannot hear that, the best idea is to stop sharing the screen and just to share the screen again, just in case. So go back here, and you can see here this box. Once you tick it at the beginning of the lesson, it usually remains there, so it's always ticked, so to say. So don't worry about that, but always make sure at the very beginning, because you cannot change it as you're listening. So once you're sharing the screen, it might, well, you might not know why the students cannot hear the audio. Alright, so I think I've shown you the whiteboard, how to use digital resources. You might be curious how to use, for example, PowerPoint presentations. So let's have a go. This is one of the presentations that go with the course book I'm using. This time we're changing the level, so instead of B1 plus, this is going to be A2. And basically you operate with this presentation as you would do in a traditional classroom. So basically you use the arrows to change the slides. And for some reason it says that that the presentation sharing is on pause. Now this has never happened to me before. So let's have a look. Maybe it's because I have another presentation going on, and that's my dog in the background. So now I'm sharing this presentation with my students. For some reason I cannot share it. Interesting. But sometimes it's good to see that something goes wrong, because this way I can also show you that, well, you just try again. So I just stopped sharing the screen and I'm sharing it again, and now it's working fine. If it's green, it means that everything's working well. So as I said, you just use arrows to click and move around your PowerPoint. Right? So in this presentation, students will learn about modal verbs, which tell us how the speaker feels. This presentation was prepared by Pearson Education, and it's part of the resource pack for Gold Experience books. So you can just use these presentations as well, and just like you would do in a normal class, you can ask students questions. Well, probably depends on what you do with PowerPoint. The more you do, well, the more you will be able to do here as well. So we've covered presentations, PowerPoints, sound, and I think that's everything that I wanted to show you today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your questions in the comments. There is one more thing I wanted to share. There's this great course on Future Learn, on teaching English online. It was prepared by Cambridge Assessment English. So I need to leave the platform, and I'm going to show you. It's here, and the new course is starting on Monday. And I did this course last year, and I absolutely recommend it. I believe it got a prize for innovation in teaching. So have a look. If you don't want to pay for it, it's free. If you want to get a certificate, then yes, you have to pay. But I believe it's worth every penny. As I said, I did it last year, and I've learned quite a lot. And that's everything for today. So thank you very much, and I'm going to finish this meeting right now. So I need to stop sharing the screen, and I need to choose to finalize the meeting and for everybody. And the program automatically saves the chat, so I can see that the chat is here. So if you write anything important, it always stays there. The program also gives you the option of recording the lesson if you would like to share it with your students later. In this particular case, I just used the screen recording software so that I could share exactly what I'm doing on the computer with you. So thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Bye!